Hey, today I'm so happy to have Jenny Schiltz back. You were here already twice, but it's always nice talking to you and catching up on different things energetically and what you have going on. So thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I know that you have an upcoming trip coming up. Like, was it next week that you're going away?
Yeah, I leave Sunday.
So fill us in about what's next and anything that you want to fill us in about in the last few
Little
months.
backstory.
Yeah, yeah.
So last year, well, 2021, I just had this urge. It was like I kept dreaming of like Caribbean water, right? I just kept seeing it, kept seeing it. And we had had a family trip planned. And then because of all, people worried about COVID, it collapsed. And I was like, no, we're going somewhere. And so I found I could go to Cozumel. Well, I had actually booked one place and it just was like, this isn't right. I need the right place. And then Spirit's like, it's Cozumel. And so I get to Cozumel and immediately the Mayan connection came in. I mean, hard, really strong to the point where, like, that first night, my daughter comes and knocks on the bedroom door. She's like, you need to do something. The condo is full of all these beings. And she's like, and I can't sleep. So I had to ward her room because what wound up happening is the whole trip, it was like I would get a little bit of sleep and then I'd stay up and I would, work with them and channel information as they were sharing it with me throughout the night. And then I'd get a couple hours of sleep in the morning before we'd start our day's activities. And so I was really there. I had gotten the information right about a month before we went. I had gotten the information that I was going to be working with the underwater pyramids and activating them. And so we
And
did
did you
that
did you
work.
already
And
know about this? Like, was that something you even knew of, or that they told
no,
you? Okay.
no, they told me. I didn't know they existed.
Yeah, that's my point.
Right. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, it's such an interesting thing because so much of this experience for me has been just, I can't Google stuff.
Right.
Right. It's like, and sometimes it's like, I'd love, some sort of collaboration or, like some sort of going, yes, I'm on the right track, but I
Right.
don't have that. Right. And so then it was like, after that, we got home and immediately the dream started again. And I'm like, you are kidding me, right?
Yeah, you're like, I thought
Like,
we were
like,
done.
like what now? And it was different water, but I kept seeing like these huge rock structures moving towards the land. And I knew they were Mayan warriors. And it didn't totally make sense either, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't understand. But I knew where I needed to go. And it was Rotan Island in Honduras and work with that water there.
Mhm.
So we did that over the winter solstice in December. So we went to Cozumel in July, and then it was the winter solstice in
Oh,
December.
and that's where you had the cool story with the dolphins, like, and
Yes,
that.
yeah, like crazy stuff happened. Like the synchronicities were just, you just know when you're guided, right?
Mhm.
I mean, everything seems to fall in place. So, from there, then I was working in Ireland, and it seemed like I had kind of, okay, I'm done, right? No. It actually came in while I was in Ireland, and I just looked at my husband and said, we've got more work to do. We've
Yeah.
got more work to do. And so I was kept going, okay, what is this? What are, where are we headed type of thing. And I knew it was be Belize because I was actually, before Honduras, I had thought it was Belize. And then they said, no, it's Honduras. You're not quite ready for Belize yet.
Hmm.
And I didn't understand what they meant then,
Right.
but now I understand. Like I needed another year of growth.
Right.
And because part of what I'm being shown is going into some of these where there's the ruins, but there's a lot of work in caves.
Hmm.
Um, and clearing out the energy from the sacrifices. So, it's interesting because we look at the Mayan culture and there's so many different stories, right? And there was a grouping that absolutely, just like the Incas, vibrated out of this reality. But, if you look on the History Channel or Nat Geo or anything like that, they're going to be like, no, no, it was war and famine and all of these things, made it so that people just left. Well, there was a whole area to where it was like people left their pots on the table.
Hmm.
And if there was war, all of that would have been destroyed, right?
Right.
If it was you're moving because of famine, you take your pot with you.
Right.
So there was so many things that just didn't make sense, but you could tell like the the humans wanted to find our human nature wanted to find a logical explanation because God forbid it's anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of funny when you think about how much we logic things, and take away the magic
Right.
because we're so busy trying to find some sort of
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Evidence and yeah.
Right. So they showed me that, you had one grouping that moved out of reality, but there was a large grouping left behind. And then at that point, that is absolutely when the famines, the war, natural disasters like earth changes
Mm-hmm.
type things came in and really just played havoc. But what it did was like, and you can kind of understand it. You can kind of understand where, well, imagine that there's a group that is doing a particular type of thing, and all of a sudden they're gone, right? And so you kind of go, I'm left. I'm left behind. We
Mm-hmm.
must have done something. We must have angered the gods. We must have done this.
Right.
And so, it feels like, when I was talking with my Mayan guides, it's like within a matter of 10 years, it's when they started saying, well, we need to do things to appease these gods. And
Right.
that's when the human sacrifice really began.
Hmm.
And it just took a really dark turn. And so in some of these cases, like one of them that we're going into, there's skulls from children.
Oh wow.
And it's kind of like, that's really, really rough energy. So what I'm actually working on there is clearing that, but it's simultaneous. So there were the grouping that left behind codes.
Left behind coats?
Codes.
Oh, codes.
Yeah.
Like jackets?
And so part of the work is picking up those codes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it feels very much like it's a picking up, it's an activation at the same time, clearing just how we got it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Clearing how we allowed fear and trauma
Mm-hmm.
to distort our humanity.
What time period was this?
You know, I've played with that a little bit because it's kind of got me stuck, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like it's 900
Right.
BC.
Right.
Um, and then from there, it's like because the empire didn't actually collapse until like 1500 AD.
Oh wow.
So there was this huge time period where it was the people were already gone,
Mm-hmm.
and the groupings left behind were just trying to figure it out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it's fascinating because one of the things that I learned in Cozumel is I had a life there. And Cozumel was the Mayan female center. So the women would, particularly from the Yucatan Peninsula, they would just take their little boat over to Cozumel and they would have their marriage rights, birth rights, things like that. Um, and it was definitely the stronghold for the women. And so I was shown a life when like the conquistadors were coming in
Mm-hmm.
and actually slitting my wrists and putting all the codes into the sand at the northern tip of Cozumel. I'm kind of like, they can't have this. They can't,
Wow.
it's like, nope, I'm out. And it really wasn't like a suicide. It was more of, you're not taking it.
Wow.
Um, and so and I remember like, as I was really in this dream and just pure remembering of this past life, I remember the thought going, I really thought we would make it this time.
Yeah.
Really thought that, that people were ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was an interesting realization, and it kind of put me into check with where we are right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Of, we keep looking at this ascension path, this path that we're on, and it's going to be interesting to see, are we ready? Are
Mm-hmm.
we truly, truly ready? And what does that then look like? And will there be the groupings, quote unquote, left behind? And what
Right.
does that reality look like for them?
Yeah.
Um, So, it's interesting. And I had said to my the Mayan guides, and I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this. And I said, I don't understand the whole pot thing because the pot thing kept sticking. Right? They left their pots. None of that makes sense to me.
Right.
And I said, so what did it look like? Did they instantly become a light body and they didn't have to eat? They didn't have to do any of these things? And they said, the pot moved with them. And I said, what?
Hmm.
And they said, all of their stuff, everything moved up to the next vibrational level with them.
Hmm.
And I said, well, then how did they know? How did they have any idea? And one of them looked at me and he just kind of grinned. He said, their world got a little smaller. They just noticed that there wasn't as many people, there wasn't as many outside influences. Their world just shifted. And he said, and it wasn't an instantaneous shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we have this misconception that ascension is this instantaneous. All of a sudden, I'm here. All of a sudden, I'm just this light body. Everything's perfect. The
Mm-hmm.
body's healed. Everything is great. But that's not what I'm being shown.
It's just another layer in the same realm, kind of a thing.
Yes, it's definitely another layer, but it's step by step by
Right.
step by step. And once you make it like through that first step,
Mm-hmm.
things then start moving a lot quickly because the the noise from the outside becomes a little less.
Mm-hmm.
And then you shift again and it's a little less. You
Right.
shift again and it's a little less. Now, their world was much different than ours. They didn't have social media. They didn't have,
Because I'm like, is it almost like me being in my own bubble, and then every now and then I peer out into the regular world, and I'll say, "Oh shit, that's what's going on over there," and then I kind of go,
like, okay, I just then go back over here. But there's something to that.
"Yeah,
I look around and I see everywhere there's help wanted signs.
mm-hmm,
I don't know anyone not working. I
yeah,
know people working two jobs, right?
right,
There's not enough school bus drivers to sometimes they have issues having refs for the kids' games.
mm-hmm,
Like, and I just sit here and I go, where are the people?
yeah,
Where are the people? Because in this economy, people are working, right? Like, I mean, and I just keep going. I ask people all the time, do you know anyone not working? They're like, no. So where are the people? And, it just fascinates me because I wonder how much is a misconception to the point where we have these unrealistic expectations of what it means to switch our vibration and move up,
mm-hmm,
increment by increment to the point that we're missing it, that we're not seeing it.
yeah,
It's like there's magic happening and we are not really fully engaging and participating in it because it's not the magic we were told it was going to be.
right,
So it's just wild, but there's like changes. Like my neighbor has a tree that is full grown. That's new.
right,
Like, I've been here for almost 7 years. That's new.
yeah,
And so I called my husband up to my office. I'm like, is that tree new? And he's like, when did that get here? Right? Like these are the type of changes that we have to show they're the little things, right? It's the small little proof that we're shifting, our worlds are changing.
mm-hmm,
And I don't know what part of your journey, what the 5D was described to you as, but for me, I'd say back in 2009, 10 time period, it was instantaneous, 100% healed. It was like all this stuff, all this, you know, almost like fantastical
mm-hmm,
type things from the third to fifth dimensional shift. And then when I started really doing my own work, really connecting in with my own team, they kept saying, it's just a doorway. It's just a doorway. And then through the years, they kept saying that expectation that was created has really done a disservice to us all
oh wow,
because we are not able to see the magic.
yeah. I don't know what expectation I just was just like, more rapid manifestation and that kind of a thing.
Which
But
are you seeing that?
I guess at times the one thing that when you talk about the tree, like there was this time over the summer, it was so weird. But me and my husband were taking a walk downtown, and there's this one bar. We don't even go to it, but it was some along the path, and it was under construction. Like the whole face of it was being refaced. And then when we did the same walk, like a week later, there was no trace of that. And we
Right.
both remembered it. It
Right.
wasn't just me. I'm
Right.
like, wasn't that? And then we even went up to it to see if like the paint looked fresh or anything. And
And
it
it
didn't.
didn't. Yeah.
That really wigged us out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
and
then
it is
twice a
fascinating.
week, I saw my husband without a beard or with his hair long. And I was like, wait. And then he's not, you know? So that kind of wigged me
Right.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's definitely that dimensional shifting happening for
Yeah.
sure. It's like the us and the different realities. And, it's fascinating. I was talking with a client last week, and she Reiki, she's holistic, but she's also a licensed counselor. And so for years she wasn't really doing that work. She was kind of raising her kids, and now she's back in that space. And she was really worried that she wouldn't find a quote unquote normal job that allowed her to be all of her. But where she is working is it's great. They accept her completely. She uses some shamanic tools in her sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And she's loving life, right? And so we were talking about it, and it was interesting because Spirit said there is that building, that job that is also very, very third dimensional and is that standard
Mm-hmm.
type of therapy. And it's like, the realization we met both exist,
Right.
both exist. But because she vibrationally is a match for the one that was, we could call it higher, that's the one that she matched in with.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, there's so much here. There's so much to really understanding that, and kind of like, oh,
It can overlay. It doesn't have to, you don't have to like truly, I mean, maybe we're hopping dimensions in that we're doing it and we're not realizing it, but it's like it's not like you're all of a sudden gonna be on another planet or something like that necessarily.
right,
Yeah.
right. And and one thing that they have said to me so much just through the years, but really a lot right now, is your true world is what you see, hear, and know firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, if I didn't look at, social media and other people's experiences, if I didn't, we don't watch the news, but stuff comes through.
Right.
I mean, there's just no way that you can't in some cases. It like
Mm-hmm.
news thing will pop up the minute you turn on your computer, right?
Right.
But if you didn't have any of that, how is your world?
I know.
And mine's pretty freaking amazing. I've got
Agree.
great neighbors. My kids doing good in school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm surrounded. I go to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
People are nice.
Yeah.
So like my world, my one-to-one world is really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's when I take in someone else's reality that I go, oh, well, this place is crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating,
Yeah.
and they keep saying, boil it down. If you don't see it, hear it firsthand, or feel it firsthand, it's not yours.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be part of your world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mind takes over. Well, isn't that selfish? Shouldn't I be worried about this here? And shouldn't I be? And they're like, well, if you want to spend your energy doing that,
Yeah.
we're like, okay, have fun with that.
Free will, free choice. Yeah.
Right? And they're like, okay, experience that. And then if I do something like dive back in, man, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And I don't have the energy for me and for
Mm-hmm.
what I'm creating on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fascinating when you start to really kind of look at that.
Yeah. So you're going to
So
be in caves and like oh you said you had like did you have like foot surgery or something like that or
I
ankle?
did in at the end of August. Like I was there, I had Belize was completely planned. I
Mhm.
break my foot right after Ireland.
Oh my God.
And so then they were just like, sorry, this is not going to heal. and this is going to be a chronic thing, because I had initially broke it in October the year prior.
Okay.
And so it had healed a little bit, and then I was on the trail and snapped it again.
Ah.
Gosh, this is the size of my bone. It's not going to heal right. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, rah! So they decided to go ahead and remove it. And I'm like telling the doctor, I'm like, I gotta go to Belize.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
he's
walking
like,
down
well,
caves and trails and
right. And he's like, well, let's just see when we can get you in. He's like, but surgeries are scheduling out. And it was non-emergent, right? And then cancellation. I got in. And which is just, that's just
the
spirit,
way it goes.
right? Because I really was kind of sitting with, okay, I've set my intention that I'm supposed to go to Belize. But if I can't get into surgery by this date, and my cutoff was like September 15th,
Mm-hmm.
then that is telling me I need to back off Belize for a while,
Right. And Belize is like,
right?
no, 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 no. We found a cancellation.
Right, right. Belize is like, she's going to call you and give you the 30th. I had 3 days,
Wow.
3 days. And I was like, what? And I was running around doing pre-ops and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Wow.
And then it's just been this journey ever since. And so now I'm finally back. I think it was not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, I was
Mm-hmm.
actually back on trail in a regular shoe.
Nice.
That's how close to the wire this is.
Wow. Wow.
Right. And I just kept going, I don't know. How am I going to handle this? But we did 3.5 miles this past Sunday.
Awesome.
So I'm good. I'm
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, because one of the caves, like you have to hike in, and then you go into the cave, which has water like chest high.
Oh my God.
For a short person like
That
me.
sounds awfully claustrophobic.
I know. I'm like, and that was part of it too. I'm like, I don't want any open wounds from a surgery
Right.
in a cave with all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
All those
You're gonna
organisms.
have
So I
like
was
waterproof like pants,
like
like
waders.
vests or yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now they actually just say they're like, just wear like board shorts,
Okay.
something that's going to dry. And then, so then you get out of that, you're still inside the cave, but then you go under rocks, and then it's a tight squeeze to get back to the very back, which they call the entrance to the underworld.
Oh my God.
Um, and that's, I know. And I'm actually doing that on my birthday. And
Oh
I'm like, there
wow.
couldn't be anything more perfect. And so then that is the location to where they said that the Mayans would access the gods, and where they would even access ancestors. So
Oh
to
my
me,
goodness.
that's like not just the gods, you will, but like the guides, the
Yeah.
ones that were helping them. And so there are, in that particular cave, there was like 12 skeletons, like just
Yeah.
young ones.
Yeah.
So
It's like, what were they thinking? Like this was gonna make the gods happy to just have these sacrifices? Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's different sets of gods, if you will. And earth gods are very low. They want war, they want blood, they
mhm.
want the energy from that trauma,
Yeah.
right? And I just think that what happened was that grouping, instead of accessing this,
Yeah.
start accessing this,
Yeah. Yeah.
on the hopes of, okay, let's see if we can keep this from happening. Let's see if this makes it so we win this battle. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right. And so your
humans are a
intention is
funky
to,
lot.
what'd you say?
Humans are just, we're just a funky lot.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
our thinking gets really, I mean, look at the Salem witch trials.
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah. It's just that mass hysteria kind of.
Right. Right.
And your intention is to kind of clear out this heavy energy so the
Mm-hmm.
earth can take in these higher light codes now,
Right.
right?
So while the codes are there,
Right.
the codes are there. So it's kind of that simultaneous, like, clearing out the heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And because when the group of Mayans left behind, it created a serious separation wound. And we already have a separation wound from being in this experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like we think we're separate from source.
Right.
That's the wound.
Yeah.
And so the group that left kind of confirmed to people that, oh, indeed, I am separate.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is that type of wounding there. So it's a lot of clearing of that wounding, picking up the ascension codes, or the coding that was left behind, which is really just, it's information on next steps. How do we do this? How do we continue shifting? How do we continue growing? Right. Um, and so at each site, I made a tincture. I'm bringing the mother with me. And at each site, I'm embedding in the good energies, right? The coding energies, the truth of what that Mayan culture was before it got all crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, we've got a whole list. We're going to be there for 10 days. And I mean, it's like, my husband's like, this, the way that I mapped it out, he's like, this is a sacred journey. I'm like, I know. He's like, oh, I'm going to be tired. I'm like, yep, but we have, I mean, it's like every day, the
Yeah.
next, another step, another place to go. And other places just kind of fell in line. And then we ended actually on San Pedro, and then working with the Ambergos Cay, which is right near the second largest Great Barrier Reef.
Okay.
So there's something there. There's something because it's back to that whole working with the Mayans and working with the water.
Yeah.
So it ends with that. So really fascinating. And I can't tell you 100% about, what's going to happen because I'm also offering a healing and I'm going to do it the last day that we're or on the island. And, it's like, I know that there's going to be work with the separation wound that we all carry, that separateness that we're not,
Mm-hmm.
all connected and all one. But it feels to me that the guides are really going to be working through that healing to assist people with what they need and using the ascension codes gathered. So, it's often people are like, well, what exactly is that healing? And I'm like,
I don't know. I'll find
I
out.
don't, I'll find out
Yeah.
and I'll know. I mean, it's kind of like, I can't tell you what I'm going to grab at that cave. I
Right.
can't tell you what I'm going to grab in the blue hole.
You just
So we're
trust.
not,
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, my world is so not logical.
Right.
And so it's just, it literally is, it's all I've got.
And that's so nice, that, like I was telling you before we hit record about my recent trip. And it's just like, it's so nice that our families are like, okay, let's do
I know, I
it.
know, isn't it? And it's interesting. This one, my daughter's not going.
Okay. I was curious.
And I just, when I told her about it, I was like, Matt, I need to get to Belize and we could do it during Thanksgiving week. And she's like, I don't want to go.
Yeah. She
And
knows.
I'm like, oh, and so I have such a wonderful support system.
Hmm.
So she's actually going to be staying with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and they're right near her school.
Right.
So it's like,
Less disruption for her. And maybe it would
exactly.
be too intense.
Well, the more, and so when that decision was made, that was made a couple months ago.
Yeah.
The more that I'm dealing with the energies getting closer to the trip,
Hmm.
the more I am grateful she's not going
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't need to focus on her,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it's like I need to be in. I
Hmm.
need to be in. And then my husband started having dreams about the Mayans and um these weird beings that he saw and I was like he woke up and he's like da, 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 da. My husband doesn't dream, right? Like I think through our 30 years together I think I've heard maybe 15 dreams, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
I mean it is really an
Yeah.
event and he is like I don't know what that was and I was like honey that was a visitation,
Yeah.
right? Like and it was there were these weird looking children and they kept saying you're coming home, you're
Oh,
coming
wow.
home, right? And oh I just got
I,
goosebumps saying
I, I
it.
got goosebumps too.
And he's like Jen, what is this? And I was like welcome to my life.
That's really cool.
So it's and it was really interesting. I did evolutionary astrology,
Hmm.
right? And there's someone out there named Kristen Fontana. She's wonderful. It's either Fontana or Fontana.
I'm
But if
not
you look up
familiar.
evolutionary astrology, it looks at the past lives.
Okay.
So it looks at where you are now, but also somehow or another they read
Oh,
it and look
neat.
at the past lives. So I had asked her to overlay
Hmm.
our two charts,
Yeah.
right? And not only do they really overlay. But she's like, oh gosh, you guys had lives. It's like Belize, Guatemala area. And she's like, and you guys were definitely working with, plant medicines. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And so then she looked at where we were born, and you can look at the map of the world and where your certain planets like go through different areas. And so for Belize, it's like it's my sun, Jupiter, and Venus, major planets that are in my chart. And for him, it was the destiny line.
Hmm.
And she just looked at me and she's like, you have to let me know what happens on the
Yeah.
day. I'm like, oh God, like what is this?
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. It
I know.
really
I
is.
I look forward to your summaries, like your blog posts and everything. And then, if people pay for the healing, you also
Mm-hmm.
include a very
Oh
lengthy
yeah.
explanation of your experience. And I always just really get a kick out of them. They're always so fascinating and I don't know, exciting.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
whatever you wrote about Ireland, or was it Scotland? Was it Ireland?
Ireland.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was like the island that you went to that
The
day was
Skellig
you
Island.
couldn't you
Yeah.
couldn't get on it, but you got to ride around it. And like when you rode around it, you got to see
Stuff that we wouldn't
stuff
have
that you wouldn't have
seen.
seen. Yeah, like the opposites.
Right.
The
I mean, it was like across the sky, the rock face, it was like it looked like the inside of a computer.
hmm,
And it started kind of like glowing and it started sending us a ton of stuff. And I had people on the boat that we were on, it was just my Sacred Journey group.
right.
And I had some cried. So one person looked at me, she goes, I have to sleep now. I'm like, go to sleep. And she shut down.
Well,
But it's so funny because it's like my human was like, we're not getting on that
yeah,
island.
I wanted to climb the staircase or whatever it
I
was.
wanted to do this. I'm supposed to be doing this work and I wanted to do this and I want this. And it's the human, right? And
Yeah.
spirit's like, look, just shut up. There's a rock on the path. Get in that boat and get what you really need. Right. And it's just that space of having to go with the flow and
Yeah.
basically telling the human, like, we know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. We only think we do,
Right.
and spirit's like, we got this. Fine. Yeah. And so I'm also doing that tincture. And so, it's something that people can purchase as well, to where I'm taking it to all the different locations and embedding it with energy. I did it with Ireland
Yeah, I got one too.
too. Did you? And I've gotten really great feedback on it. And to where people can, I then bring the mother home and then make the smaller
Hmm.
tinctures.
Yeah.
And so it holds these energies
Right.
so that you can bring them in and use it with intention to connect in with it. And
Yeah.
so when they first brought that idea to me, I was like, really?
Yeah.
And they're like, this is how you connect people from everywhere who cannot get to these locations,
Right.
but they're part of it,
Hmm.
because it's like this puzzle. You're part of it.
Right.
And so this is like helps you energetically connect the fact that you're part of it when even if you can't go.
That's really cool.
So it is really cool. And but yesterday morning, I I wake up and I sit up and I go, Kapan. Okay, we have to go to Kapan. It's like, what? And so he Googles, and it's the Mayan ruins that are in Honduras, right near Guatemala. And he goes, can we get through Belize first?
You
And
can't
I'm
combine that.
like,
You can't combine that on your trip, you don't think?
no, it's
Yeah.
too much. I
Yeah.
mean, it is so much. And Guatemala has so many amazing ruins, right? So I had already told him, I was like, we're heading to Guatemala. I mean, that's going to be, I know some
Hmm.
point in time we are. But then it's interesting because it feels like we've got to do the Honduras and grab the energies from Capan and then go down to Guatemala. Or is it
Okay.
up? My geography is awful.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, and it's just it's fascinating because I'm like, I don't know, it just feels like
Like
it's
you
this
know the order. Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
yeah, like this huge journey.
Yeah.
Um,
So that'll probably be at the spring, or the
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Because it's like when you have a 14-year-old that doesn't like to travel, life gets a little difficult
Yeah.
and you don't want to leave them too much,
I know. I know that's true.
because they're only with you for such a short
I
little
know.
time. It's
I
like I've got
know.
what 4.5 years and she's in college.
I hear you.
So, in college, or if she chooses not to do that, she can be on her own anyway. Like I
Right.
don't
Either
either.
way, she's on her own in some capacity.
Right. In
Yeah.
some capacity. Right.
Yeah.
Like to
Yeah.
where I don't have to worry so much about, you
Yeah.
know, dipping
Her
out.
well-being, whether she's coming with
Right.
you or who's taking care
Right.
of her.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, even if she drove, it'd be a little easier. Like, it's like just telling my sister-in-law, I'm like, I'm sending her the schedule, and
Soccer.
she's like, oh my God. I'm like, sorry.
Sorry, it's a lot.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, ah. And she's like, no wonder you're tired. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It takes a lot, man.
It does. And so it's this balance that I'm finding between the spiritual mission
Mm-hmm.
and the mom mission,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that having that keeps me really grounded, keeps me
Yeah.
really balanced, because man, I could go full bore,
Yeah.
you know? And so generally I always tell spirit, I'm like, I'm here. I will do this work, but you've got to help me with the kid and you have to help me with finances.
Right.
It's that simple, because
And it
it's
works.
not,
Yeah.
it does. I tend to, it's like I tend to, like, always I'll get something. So whether it's, somebody is a donation, or I'll get money for the healing or money for the tincture, and that pays for it. And
Yeah.
I'm just grateful for it,
Yeah.
because otherwise, you kind of go, okay, spirit, it's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this world is
If
not.
we are supposed to get this workout, we need a way to finance the way to make it happen. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. And so to me, it's like, if the finances are there, then it could be the human pushing,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of that timing of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know why I do see the finances as part of that,
Yeah.
because I can't put the family in financial straits
Right.
for me to go running off. But like, like our plane tickets, I paid for it with miles.
That's awesome.
Right. So there was just little things that I'm like, okay, got this. Okay, this is how we're going to afford this. And
Mm-hmm.
so just the way that it works out. And it's wild. I didn't know I had that many miles. And
You
all
might
of a sudden I
not
was
have.
like,
It just
I
did.
can do this. Because
Yeah.
I really thought I can do one,
Yeah.
like one plane ticket, but it covered both of us.
That's awesome.
Right.
It's like, thank you. I won't ask too
I
many
know. I was
questions.
like, thank you. Thank you. I mean, because it's
Yeah.
expensive.
You don't need to go
Um,
backward and research and make sure that you really do. It's like, is there?
nope.
Just do it.
Nope. Don't care.
Yeah.
Taking it. Fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Don't need to dissect it. So
Right.
you're
Isn't that
offering
funny?
the healing and the tincture or a combo
Mm-hmm.
of both, right? So what are you doing? How is that working? Like,
So yeah, so you can go onto the website,
mm,
and you can sign up for the healing.
mm-hmm,
And so a lot of people will add their children or their spouses to the healing. So that's one complete sign up. So
right.
unfortunately, it's a pain in the butt, because it is two different kind
Two
of
separate
systems.
checkouts. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's that. And then you can purchase the tincture. And
Okay.
so when I get back from Belize, that's when, because I'm just taking the mother with me.
Right.
And then from that point, then I make the individual tinctures and mail them all out.
And you don't charge a crazy amount. Like, what is the healing? What's the cost?
The healing's 22,
Right.
22, 22.
Right.
Which, because I want it to be affordable,
Right. Right.
right? Like, I want it to be an honoring of the work, but I want people to be able to access it.
Yeah.
And then the tincture is either 33 for the 15 milliliter, or 44 for the 30 milliliter.
Okay. I know.
And
I really do love your written summaries of things, and I'll read it out to like my clients or my friends. Like I'm always just like,
yeah,
shit, this is amazing.
yeah,
It's always
yeah,
cool, like the different things that you gather from these experiences. So it's definitely worth your while to like, even if if people were skeptical, which they shouldn't be, but like even if you didn't think that the healing, but if nothing else, you get this awesome summary that's like
right.
so thorough and complete and just like amazing. So,
Yeah. And you get
like,
the healing,
yeah.
right?
And
Like,
the healing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've seen people like contact me. They're like, huge shift,
Yeah.
huge shift. And what a lot of people don't understand is, when you're doing something like a healing like that, even if it's in person, right? You're still working on that energy body level, right? And you're still kind of working within that, not necessarily the hardcore physical, right? It has to integrate in, but the more you connect into it, the
Hmm.
faster it integrates in.
Right.
So when somebody reads the summary and can sit with what happened and understand it, that's when they integrate it in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it's kind of up here and it's just like sands of time integrating in instead
Yeah.
of a boom and
Yeah.
then completely solid. So yeah,
That's
it's neat.
and you leave on Sunday and then you'll be there for 10 days and then
Yeah,
when you come back is when you'll ship out all those things. I mean, it'll be a while, but whatever.
yeah,
Just to give people a timeline of like when to expect things.
yeah, yeah. So we get back on the late. They changed my flight yesterday. I was like, oh, because I really was telling my sister, I'm like, that Tuesday night, I'll come, I'll get the dogs, I'll grab Maddie. And then we land 2 hours away in Denver at 10:17 at night now.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
I told her,
Sorry.
she's like, oh, you'll get them tomorrow,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then it's the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh wow.
So yeah. And so originally I was like, well, maybe we can stretch it to like the 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. I was like, nope, nope, nope. Because
Oh, travel.
sometimes,
Yeah.
well, it's the traveling, but sometimes I find I get delayed because the city where the airport is, I've got work to do.
Okay.
And so I wound up having to stay in a hotel and I work most of the night on the energies there. So, it's like I'm already kind of like telling Spirit, I'm like, I land in Belize, right? And then in Belize City, and then we get the car and we go. And I say, if there's work that needs to be done, just let me know.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
Give me a heads up. Yeah.
so I don't have to get stuck,
Yeah.
but it's it's these energy trips. But if it's like a trip to Sarasota or just a family trip, like I went back east for a wedding, I don't get stuck. It's
Yeah.
very smooth. So it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Right. So I always try to build in a buffer now
Right.
from trips like this.
That's so fun. At
Yeah.
least
And
you
so,
know what
and
to expect.
right. And it is that flexibility, right?
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
kind of going, if it is, it is.
Yeah, right.
I've got work to do. It's fine. And one of the things that we are doing there is we're working on the contacts and the places to stay to create a sacred journey so that I can take a group
Oh,
and
in
so
the
that they can
future. Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
energies in person. But yeah.
Yeah. All these things coming up down the
Mm.
line.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's almost like it's just this beautiful, the sacred sites all around the world are so interesting because they're so layered, right? There's the goodies. There's the goodies under there that you got to get to. There can be a lot of ook. And
Hmm.
so it's like one of the reasons the lady that I had done sacred journeys in Europe with, she's like, I want to travel with, somebody who's shamanically trained. She's like, because she was having issues of people experiencing the ook, because
Oh,
they would run to the sacred sites and just open, right? And then, the stuck, negative, whatever words you want to use, energy would be like, ah, you're fun. And so
I gotta
it's
get my battery. My thing just. I'm like, oh no.
oh,
So hang on. Sorry about that.
no, no worries.
I knew we were close, but I was like, I don't want it to die.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought. What were you saying?
I have no idea.
The lady in Europe, or
Oh, yeah. So like for her, that's why we teamed up because she wants someone who can help the people access the the yummy at the sacred sites instead of the ook.
yeah. Well, I'm sure that would be a challenge with people who are experiencing things and not understanding what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whereas generally like the sacred journey group, they know, right?
They're already clued in.
They're already clued in and a lot of them are they're there to do the energy work too. So, and they just want the group work, the power of the group work, because group work is
It
so
just
powerful.
exponentially stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
in the future, you may be bringing some groups down to the Belize area for some
Yeah.
retreats and things.
Yeah.
but maybe that's
Yeah.
after Maddie graduates high school or something.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's funny because like she's got camps coming up this summer for basketball. And I'm like, during that time, we're doing retreats. I'm just gonna organize
Yeah,
it that
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Organize your time around her schedule.
Yeah. I mean, just find the way to balance it. Because before it was, when it was just me, and you probably heard my crazy dogs, but when it was just me, I could go and the husband will hold down the fort. But now it's both of us
Yeah,
and we're in it. And so now it's just a shifting.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's really neat. It's
it
really
is
cool the
neat.
evolution of things and his participation. So I love that he was having
It,
dreams.
he's I think there's a part of him that's like, okay, this is mine. I'm understanding this spiritual growth. I get all of this now. And there's another part like I was fine being a bystander. I was
Yeah.
fine being just a support.
Right,
Um,
right.
so it is really funny, but it's neat because I mean we've been together for feels like forever, right? And so just the evolution of the marriage, and I never in a million years thought we would work together. I never thought we would serve medicine together.
Right.
And here we are, right? Like it's just you just don't
Beyond what
know.
you could think. I know. I know.
Beyond, beyond, right? Never in a million years did I think.
It's really cool. I know, like when we were on our trip last week, my husband admitted that he had deja vu a couple times, and I was like, oh, like he's never done
Right,
this before. He's, you know.
right, right. And it sometimes it just feels to me like the partners that are not at the same exact level, they're absorbing it all.
Hmm.
And when it turns on, it's fast. It's like the path has already been laid,
Right.
right? And it's like, and I'm sure for your husband, it's like you're able to hold space
Hmm.
for his experience and whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Ireland this summer knocked my husband on his butt. And he kept, because while we were on the boat up in the Skellig Island was doing its thing to us, he kept going, I am freezing inside, but my outside's warm.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
freezing inside. I mean, he
Wow.
was like, I was like, that's your nervous system. And he had like shocks, nervous system shocks all the way down his legs. He's
Wow.
like, what is happening? I'm like, this is an activation. And so, we get home and he so much shifted and he really went into the dark night of the soul
Oh, wow.
and just kind of lost. He's like, I don't know anything. I don't know who I am. I don't know. And then he started massively getting rid of everything.
Hmm.
He was like, I don't know why I'm keeping this. Don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this. And so it's been a very interesting time since the solstice in June.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really.
So yeah. And so you don't know. And it's
Mhm.
just holding that space for them until it's their moment to turn on.
Right.
And honestly, if this had been 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I think it would have been really difficult on all of us if we were both going through it.
Hmm.
Right. Not, we're trying to raise a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we got kids and grandkids and, just all the chaos. And
Mhm.
how do you do that if there isn't someone who is the anchor?
Yeah. To hold the line, kind of.
Right. But now I hold the line.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really
And
neat.
so now it's like it's his turn. It's
Hmm.
his turn to,
Right.
kind of be like a little lost.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, I'm steering the ship. It's all good.
Like it's fine. It's fine. Everything that you're feeling, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's-
So
Thanks for
yeah.
talking and hanging.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was good. It was good seeing you and talking to you and
Yeah. And just to remind people
exciting.
where to find you, it's jennyschiltz.com, but your last name is Schiltz, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And on the website, it's Mayan Magic. So it's like jennyschultz.com/Mayan Magic.
Oh, Mayan Magic is the
Yeah.
links to your upcoming thing
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And
Thank
I'll send it to you so that you have it so you can add it to things so
Yeah,
that people
yeah,
can find
easy
it.
enough.
Yeah, easy enough,
Thanks for talking.
Yeah, yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I
And I look
appreciate it.
forward to hearing the conclusion for this
Yeah,
part of the chapter
I
anyway.
know from this part of the chapter. I mean, my poor husband, he goes, Jen, we have to learn Spanish. Belize, the language is English.
Yeah.
And
That's good at
like
least.
Cozumel, a lot of people spoke English. Rotan Island, they speak English. But you get in country in Honduras and Guatemala, and it is most certainly Spanish. And I was like, okay, that's our challenge, for December.
Duolingo, get it on your phone. That's what my
That's
son
exactly
taught
it.
himself like many languages doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what somebody else recommended. So, and I'm like, it just only gets better. We just keep learning,
yeah,
keep
right.
growing. It's
Keep your
perfect.
brain active too.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Keep those language centers going. So,
All
yeah.
right. Well, I'll I guess I'll say goodbye now. I'll talk to you after I
Yeah.
hit stop.
All right.
Thanks
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.